We will never be able to find RuneScape's worst skill. Everybody will have a different skill depending on your preferences and playstyle, etc. But when it comes to RuneScape's most disappointing skill, I think there is an objectively correct answer. Smithing. Let me explain why. Okay, let me paint a picture. You're a new player coming into RuneScape for the first time, and you start, grinding away, getting some levels, you kill some goblins, maybe some cows, perhaps even some chickens, and you achieve level 20 attack. Huge milestone for you, and that gets you thinking, hey, let me get myself one of those new mithril weapons that I just unlocked. Let's go do what I learned on Tutorial Island and start smithing it. So, you check your smithing log to see what you need, and level 55 smithing. You barely just got level 20 attack and you need 55 smithing to get this new weapon. So, you do what any sane person would do, and don't bother with smithing, you go to the scimitar shop and just buy it, because it's pretty cheap anyways. To put it simply, smithing's unlock do not match their level whatsoever. You might ask why this even is the case. Well, back in Classic, the best equipment you could get was rune. So, when they made the smithing skill, they just made rune the best thing you could smith, and the best runite item was at 99 smithing. Even though that it only required 40 defense to wear. And from then on, whenever they added new equipment to the game, none of them fit into the smithing skill. And as rune became irrelevant to late game content, the smithing skill ceased to just make sense. So, why don't we go try and see if we can't just fix it, The most obvious place to start would just be to bring the level requirement for smithing the bars in alignment with the level requirement for using the equipment. So have runite bars be unlocked at level 40, adamant at level 30, mithril at level 20. And we run into a problem with steel, as it's unlocked at level 5 usually, but that really breaks our pattern of a new bar every 10th level. So, let's say steel bars are unlocked at level 10. This would then mean that both bronze and iron bars are unlocked at level 1. But we do have a way to make them a little bit different. When it comes to actually smithing equipment, I've made a level up table that looks like this. Here the L value is the level in which you unlock the bar. So for example, since runite bars are unlocked at level 40, a rune sword would be unlocked at level 42. And a rune scimitar would be unlocked at smithing level 50. This here is also how we can differentiate between iron and bronze. As for the sake of this table, iron has an L value of 0 and bronze has an L value of -10. So a bronze plate body can be made at level 2, but an iron plate body can first be made at level 12. So with this, we now have solved all the problems that smithing has, and we have also introduced quite a few new problems. So let's try and address them. The first thing worth pointing out is how this is gonna completely change the level up meta of smithing. Runite ore used to be a high level skilling item that could give you some of the best XP in an entire skill, and now it will be a mid-game item. I don't think it's too important for things like PVM drops, as they already introduced too many smithing supplies into the RuneScape ecosystem anyways. I think having less high level smithing supplies coming from PVM would be a good thing. But mining would need to be rebalanced to match the new level curve of smithing. Now, mining is my least favorite skill, so I think a mining rework would be a good thing. And perhaps I'll make a video on that one day. But just keep in mind you need to readjust how ores are coming into the game. Another major issue with the rework is the fact that we removed all late game smithing content, so we need to add in some new late game smithing items. Currently tier 50 armor is made up of granite, so I think there's room there to just add a new metal bar, something that sits between rune and dragon. Now for higher level things get a little tricky. I think some tier 70 smithable items would be fine, but we need to make sure that they're weaker than something like barrows, as they're quite iconic, and it would be a shame if they would just be replaced by some random smithable item set. So this new tier 70 armor should be maybe slightly weaker than barrows and not have the special effects. For tier 60, dragon already fills out the entire niche. I think it would only make sense to make dragon armor smithable. This honestly seems like it would be completely fine for most of the dragon equipment, but there are a couple of items that need to be addressed. First, there are the Dragon Claws and the Dragon Warhammer, both spec weapons that are significantly more expensive than similar Dragon special weapons. The way I would address this is by replacing those drops with some other items, like say a Lizardman, Hammer Hilt, and an Old Nail, and then have the smithable Dragon Warhammer and Claws only have their special attack, if you attach these items to them. Next comes the issue of the Dragon Slayer 2 items, such as the Dragon Plate Body, Full Helm, and Crossbow. Oh, and the Kite Shield. Everybody forgets the Kite Shield, including me. These come as rare drops and are significantly more expensive than other Dragon equipment, which I honestly think is quite the shame. Truth is, nobody uses them outside of just Fashionscape. They're too expensive for their stats. I mean, Barrow's equipment is just cheaper, you know? So making them smithable might be able to just give them a purpose and a place in the game. But making them just smithable really just removes the cool drops and the feeling of actually unlocking new cool iconic equipment. So for that I would like to introduce the concept of smithing recipes. So for these higher level metals, it's not enough to just have the smithing level, you also have to have consumed a smithing recipe. That way we can place these smithing recipes on the drop tables of Mithril, Adamant and Rune dragons. And we can make the other dragon smithing recipes come from thematic places. Like the Mace and Battle Axe recipe could come from the Heroes Guild, the Halberd recipe could be bought in Camp Tyrus, and the Scimitar recipe could be bought in Mariam. And I actually think with this we could remove the weird quest requirement for a lot of dragon equipment that just seems odd at times. We could even extend this concept to the other new metals, with the tier 50 recipes being bought in just normal smithing shops, weapon shops or armor shops. And the tier 70 recipes coming from more late game content, or perhaps skilling bosses or minigames such as Giant's Foundry. I honestly think it could be quite fun to go out there and try to unlock all the smithing recipes, you know, collection log content and all that. But even with all this, the highest level smithing item you can smith would come at level 82. I don't think this is a massive problem, as plenty of skills have had their higher levels, not really have that much content, and this leaves a place for the developers to truly expand on their skill in the future. Believe it or not, I tried to make the fewest amount of changes that I could just to make the rework be the least disruptive that it could be, but I get that it still changes quite a lot. There's just no changing that. The skill just is fundamentally flawed at the moment, so the fundamentals really have to be changed. But I'll refrain from adding or changing anything else and call it a day. I especially didn't want to change anything about the way the skill is trained, because I actually think that's pretty good. I like training the skill, I just don't ever feel like I need to. If you have any ideas or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And thank you for listening to me just yab about smithing for probably too long. Okay, bye!